Hey everyone, I've got someone here today who's been in my coaching program for over 2.5 years. And what I love about her story is that she has a story that a lot of people I think can relate to. She's a really good example of what happens when you commit to not just like perfection and short-term change, but the long-term change and having balance and sustainability to it. We've been working together since early 2023. So I wanted to share this conversation with you guys, jump inside her head a little bit and see the mindset shifts that she's made and the changes that she's gone through over the last couple of years and what she's learned along the way. So we will jump right into it. We will just start with the simple stuff. Bree, so your name, age, kind of what you do for work, what day-to-day life looks like for you.
Bree, I'm 37 and I own a hair salon / I'm a hairstylist. Day-to-day life is different every day, but most of it is work based. And then I have a young dog, so trying to make him tired. And then I play volleyball when I can. But I would say majority of my life is currently centered around running my new and small business.
So we're going to start by testing your memory a little bit. Do you remember when you very first heard about my coaching program, who you heard it from, or what your first kind of thoughts were around it?
Yes, actually. I was doing Whitney's hair, who I think you went to high school with, and she had mentioned it because I saw a giveaway on her page, so we were chatting about it. So then I think I entered the giveaway, and then you messaged me.
Wow, that is impressive to remember it that long ago. And I remember, yeah, Whitney did a little thing with me as well. So yeah, that makes sense that was the intro. Do you remember what was kind of like going on in life at that point? How you're feeling about your body, your relationship to food, like that kind of stuff, like what was happening in your head at that time?
Yes, I had just experienced quite a huge fluctuation. So I was living overseas in Australia prior to COVID, and I had thought I was just like the absolute peak of health while living over there. Until I realized I kind of was I would say I was quite underweight when I lived in Australia. And then I sort of swung far the other way. I moved back to Canada, met my boyfriend. We moved in together, and he loves to cook and cooks with a lot of ingredients that you don't pay attention to. So I think within a matter of being home for maybe 9 months, I had put on probably 40 pounds, maybe 50. And just didn't feel comfortable. And I didn't feel like good. Like I was lethargic, and it was really easy to get caught up in that. And so just like the only other way I knew how to fix that was to go the other way and just do like the classic, like girls starve themselves till they meet their level and then go back to normal. So it's always been like a high and a low, a high and a low. And then I think when I realized I was quite unhealthy, when I thought I wasn't unhealthy and I was really under eating and overworking out, I kind of really knew I didn't actually have the tools to do what I needed to do. And I just sort of figured it was time to do the one thing I'd never tried, which was invest in somebody to help me learn how to eat properly.
So this was your first real coaching experience. Everything else prior to that, you were just kind of guessing and doing it on your own of like what you kind of had heard and thought about?
I had tried once before when I lived in Victoria. Two girls offered to help me with nutrition, but that was the classic. They did a fitness competition one time, and then they kind of just programmed what they knew. And it was just like, and I think it was so much food that I wasn't used to that then I just was like, this is gross. Like it was like, so it was like high amounts of like yogurt and oats and like all these filler foods just to get your calories in, that I didn't really stay with that. And then I also did dabble in the CrossFit world where we like drink the Kool-Aid and everyone does paleo and bananas are bad for you and everyone needs to eat turkey bacon. Like it was just like, that was almost so extreme that then I think I ended up creating so many adverse reactions to just regular eating that then I just went back to having huge amounts of digestive problems or heartburn when I went back to trying to eat like what I would consider like a normal person. But I can't really say I ever like sat down and actually tried it with like a person who understands it. I just was like, oh, like paleo, did some research. Okay, like almond flour, great, like got it. So yeah, this would be like the first time I decided to invest the money into trying that one thing that I'd never done to get me to the goals I'd always had. Like I've always loved fitness in the gym, but I've never matched it with like proper nutrition.
Right. Gotcha. When we've had our first like call or conversation and you had decided that you were going to commit to it, what was going through your head at that time? Were you like excited to be working with someone who actually knew what they were doing? Were you nervous about it? What was going through your head at that time?
I actually don't really think I had much of those thoughts. For me, it was kind of like what's the worst that can happen? I've tried it so hard on my own for so long. Like, it's not going to be worse. Like, it's not like I'm not going to learn something. So I think it was just more of like, I was really frustrated. I felt really exhausted from caring so much about it all the time, like my whole life, that why not just like let someone else take the reins? But it's funny because I don't even think I really knew what it was going to look like. I just kind of was like, yeah, this is it. Like, I'm just going to give it a go.
Yeah, just jumped in for it.
Yeah.
I know we've had this conversation a ton. As somebody like a woman who's in their 30s and has been fed a lot of information about the messaging around like food, your body, and like what a healthy body looks like. What was that like for you growing up? Like, what kind of things did you hear? And then how is that process of like actually learning about nutrition? Because I know especially at the start, we went through a lot of that stuff. What was it like to kind of like rewrite all of that for yourself?
It's such a hard question to answer because like I just don't think most people are able to comprehend it unless they grew up in it. You don't even realize how bad it is until one day. And I think it comes kind of with getting into your 30s and like realizing you've lived your whole life in this way that you didn't even notice. But it's like, it's all consuming. It's in everything we do and everything we think. I was even laughing, like, I've been working with you longer than I even knew. And I was laughing about all the magazine articles we've read saying like that 6-week shred, like get summer ready. And you truly think you can do that in 6 weeks, and that when it doesn't work out, it's you, and that you're like a failure or you're just like fat or whatever. And you kind of just like realize your entire self-worth got put into like your scale and how you looked without even intentionally doing that. So you just sort of have this subconscious battle all the time going on to fit into this mold that you didn't create yourself. But you like think you're supposed to eat 1,200 calories and that walking on the treadmill and running till you want to die is going to do it for you. Like you really got like the bulking thing scares you, like all of that is always in the back of your mind. So you're like fighting it without even realizing it. So even if you have a coach telling you to do something, my brain thinks it knows better because I grew up in a world that said like women are just supposed to be toned and skinny, whatever that fucking meant. Pardon my language.
Yeah. One thing I love is that like when you get a female to start lifting weights, there are amount of people that are like, oh, what if I get too like shredded and bulky? I was like, trust me, if that was the case, a lot of guys would be signing up for that.
Yeah.
Because they all want, it's like, trust me, it's going to be fine. You're not going to end up there. When we had started our program together, when was the first time that you kind of realized you're like, oh, this is different, or what felt different about it and like more sustainable compared to like those magazine articles kind of thing?
For me, I guess I can't, like, for me, it was just, I don't know if it clicked right away, but it was all of a sudden this sort of like unfamiliar feeling of control that I've never had. And again, there's also so many narratives around people who track their food, but I can say comfortably for me, tracking for as long as I did gave me the freedom to know that I didn't have to panic all the time and that it was okay to eat, because I kept putting my food in the app and I kept seeing the weight I didn't want to have fall off. And so you slowly start to be like, okay, like, and I don't know if I trusted the process so much as I was like, I can trust this person that's doing this with me. And then just over time, it was just this really nice feeling of knowing that even if the scale went up 5-10 pounds, I knew that I could fix that without completely ruining the freedom to like enjoy myself. And I still fight it every now and then. Like I'm sure I text you nonstop those like inner demons. There will be weeks where my body's saying like, stop eating, or you panic about having a donut. but I know that like that base level is still there. So when I go back and I look and I go back to sort of my controlled program, that all goes away, and it's actually given me the freedom to enjoy my life and not spend every waking hour thinking about what I've ate and what I'm allowed to eat later or what I can't eat. Because that was probably the loudest, most constant narrative I had every day since I can remember. Like probably since I was 12.
Yeah. And I think like I remember lots of times, I think in the first summer specifically, where you would go out and like, hey, I'm having a weekend camping or whatever, which obviously your food typically isn't going to be quite as good. And you'd come back and you'd be like, oh, my weight jumped 3 pounds. And I was like, keep tracking it. Oh, weird. It came right back down.
Yeah.
So like not only just tracking food, but also tracking your weight and seeing that like, oh, when I consistently, like every time I go camping, I gain 3 pounds, and every 3 days later, I lose 3 pounds. Oh, I didn't actually put that weight on, kind of thing.
Well, and it kind of teaches you, kind of like it teaches you that weight, it doesn't really happen that fast. Like, yes, you're this, and you don't have to be afraid of the scale. I think that was the other thing. The first time you made me weigh in and take photos, I hated that process because that's something I've avoided doing forever. Because normally that would send me into a tailspin of just like starving. Like I would just like live off coffee and like a few pieces of like chicken and some spinach. Like there was no middle ground for me. I was either eating whatever I wanted or I was like eating this magical 1,200 calories number. And I think I also grew up in a household where that number was drilled into my mom. And even to this day, trying to talk to this woman about like, Mom, where did you find that number? Like, who invented 1,200 calories? No one knows. But it's like, it's in all of us. Like, that's the right amount for a grown, and it's like the right amount for a toddler.
So we started mostly with just nutrition with the programming, and then eventually got into full-on coaching. And I know when we first started, you were working or you were using like an app or whatever with like a pretty big fitness name and following those workout programs. What was the transition like for you to go from just like one of those generalized big name programs into something that was more specific to you, and what made you decide to kind of make that switch?
What made me make the switch is by watching what it was like to stay consistent, because I don't think all of us are really good for showing up for ourselves, but I didn't want to disappoint you because I was like paying you to be there. And it's like, what is the point of doing this if I'm not going to like do the work? And by learning that, I did better if somebody was like looking at my work, basically. It doesn't allow me to slack off in the gym as well. And I think I wasn't really doing progressive overload at the gym. Like I just was like doing what felt good that day. And it's like, well, I can't base everything off having a bad day. Like that's just like not realistic. So for me, switching over was like, okay, like I have somebody that can check in and be consistent with me and also tailor things, because I do stand dominantly on one leg at work, just with like the hairstylist thing, noticing that there were weaknesses that I wasn't able to fix. And I think when we started, I had quite a difference in strength on either side of my body. So it was actually easy to switch in that way, but I actually found it really hard to trust it because I had been following that program for probably 5 years. And he is a big name and he's very active on social media. And it's like, you see all the girls he trains. And in my brain, it was like, well, that's going to get me to that. And like, no one else can. And so it was like one of the easiest and yet hardest things to start trusting for me.
Yeah, it's a big change, especially like when there's that much influence around him and you see that many people, you're like, well, if they're getting it, I have to get it. And not realizing that there is the aspects of like, hey, I stand on this leg, I feel pain or discomfort here, I have these imbalances. So I know we've definitely had to work through a couple little things with it, but it's always getting better and better. How big of an impact do you think, like when we very first started having you train with me, we looked at your cycle and kind of syncing your progressive overload to it? Do you feel like that made a big difference for you, or was it more so just the progressive overload for you that you think made the bigger difference?
I actually can say I don't notice the shifts as often now. Like I obviously have weeks. Like I think this week, I mean, my cycle's hard to lock down because I don't actually have one. So it's been kind of guessing based off of like really like focusing on how I'm feeling and what my body's doing. But like this week, I think is a mixture. Like today was just not meeting the levels I'd been doing the week before. And I think it's just a combination of like being female and being sore. But having a person to bounce that idea off of and work with me and actually like give me other ways to like pay attention to it. Cause like, again, you can't just always go off feel. Like I live in a very busy life and I run a business and I'm the primary financial breadwinner of the company. So it's like, I'll just have weeks where I don't feel like doing anything, but I can't necessarily blame being a hormonal female on that. So having other ways to look at it or just paying attention to the progressive overload has actually been like, okay, I'm starting to notice which weeks I can maybe hit the same numbers, but not go over, which has helped a lot. But I also think with the eating and paying attention to like what I'm consuming, I think that the high fluctuations have not been as extreme because I'm not starving or living off coffee and then protein one week. And so I think like all together as a group, it was good to do both with you because it sort of like helped level everything out and also showed me what I can actually overcome and like what not to give into, like what is actually weakness and what is like mental laziness are not the same. So I don't think I notice big weeks anymore where I'm just like, I cannot do anything. And when we started, I felt like there was full weeks where I was like, I don't even think I can do a 20-pound dumbbell today. Like I just wanted to lay on the floor. So those are gone.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed like with your work and just like depending where you're at with like stress and fatigue from that and life, the changes in the gym, messaging me about that stuff, and early on especially too, like GI issues too, of like, hey, my gut's not doing good. Oh, I'm really, really stressed out. So it's amazing like having all that other life stuff, how much that comes around to your nutrition and exercise as well. But like I said before we got started, we are at I said 2.5 years, I think, but like over 900 days together, which is wild.
Yeah.
So take me back through what the goals were when you very first signed up, what you what it felt like to kind of hit those, where you're at now, and what your goals are moving forward.
I think when I started, my goals were just solely like I just didn't want to look the way I looked because I was just like really uncomfortable. And then I got to the weight I wanted to be. And then I got to experience like a proper cut with you. And I think I felt like physically I looked how I've always wanted to look, but I think that shift mentally had already started realizing that like I don't know a single person who can maintain that properly. Like it's physically impossible for me to stay at those numbers and live in the way I want to. Like I never got to see friends. I was like on this strict and I was hungry and like kind of grouchy. And so I think the goal that I started with, I don't know if I even have a goal now, but my goal is constantly changing and evolving into becoming just a person who feels good and feels strong and feels calm and comfortable in just like eating and fitness. But when I started, it was like solely like, I just can't look like this anymore because my entire life was driven around how I looked and how much I weighed. And if I weighed more than this number I invented in my head, I wasn't worth anything. And so it is really funny to know it's been that long and to even think back to who I started. Because now I like constantly complain about things like, why can't I get my shoulders to lift more weight? Or like, why are my quads so tight? Is that hindering like my hack squat number? Which those are never things I've given a crap about. And now I have goals of like, I want to be able to leg press over 400 pounds. And, 2 years ago, I just wanted to look not fat. Like that was like my mentality. Like I want to wear a bikini and like look great.
Yeah.
I didn't care if I felt like shit. I just wanted to look good. And now I would rather feel good and be a little bit heavier than my brain tells me I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. And I think you've had so much balance, like you've grown into so much balance over time, where at the start it was like, here's the narrow focus. Now it's just like, you want the fitness and health that comes along with actually having a balanced, like fun lifestyle too, of like, I go do things, I go on vacations, I take my dog out, I enjoy some meals, I enjoy some drinks, and typically in the gym 3 days a week, right?
Yeah,
So
and there'll be an occasional week where I can go 4. So I do 3 days in the gym lifting, and then I was playing beach volleyball 1 day a week. And then like randomly I threw in trying to run the other day, which I learned I'm not very good at, and wow, am I sore. But so I'd say 4 days of full proper physical activity and then like dog hiking.
So super like sustainable feel to that lifestyle now, hey?
Yeah. And I think the guilt's quieted. Like that was what I was kind of remembering the first year, even like maybe the first, full year, putting the food in. Like I almost felt like you were going to be mad at me if I like ate a cheese, you know what I mean? You're like, I don't want to put that in. And I think I probably lied on and off for like the first year because I didn't want to look bad.
Yeah.
And you realize like it's all intertwined. Like it all comes down to like it was all being perceived outwardly. And now I think my focus is how I'm perceiving it inwardly, which is such a wild switch to think about. Whereas like now I don't even really, the guilt pops in every now and then because you're not going to unprogram, 35 years of your life, but it's easy to quiet it now and just be like, yeah, like I'm going to eat this anyway. And like Logan ate
it'll be fine.
Last night, like I hit the macros, but like maybe it wasn't Whole Foods.
Yeah, I hit the numbers though.
Yeah. Like last night I was like literally eating like chocolate coconut things because I had so many calories left. Yeah. But I was just like, okay, I guess I'll just eat this chocolate. Damn.
Yeah. Life's tough. Which is exciting though. I like the kind of like goals that we're pushing towards now, like getting you eating more and more again. It was nice to have that like first phase and almost like a maintenance, like enjoy life phase. And now we're hopping kind of back into it again and gonna push you a little bit more again.
Yeah, like I never ever would have thought when I signed up for this that my goal right now is like, how do I teach my body to consume as many calories as it can and like stay how I am? Because like I want to I thought by now I could just like, I want to be eating all the food. Like, and I've been working with Joel on his food and I like see how much food he gets to eat and it like makes me mad because I was like, I would like to eat that too. So like now I have this whole new goal of like, how do I get my body comfortable at a higher amount of calories and then also get my brain comfortably if I'm sitting a few pounds heavier?
Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about like growing muscle off and on, right? And it's like, well, how do we put more muscle on? We need more food in us. So that'll be a fun challenge to go into now. So you've been able to stay, even if you maybe don't feel like it sometimes, like incredibly consistent. What would you say is the key to that? If you had to give somebody a piece of advice of like, how do you actually stay consistent over multiple years like you have?
I think it takes multiple years, and that's been the hardest thing. Like, I think, how many texts have you got from me that's like, I am exhausted at how hard it is to stay mediocrely fit.
Yeah.
And we're told that you can do these things in short terms, and you see trainers all over the internet saying like, 6-week mummy tummy shred, and you're like, okay, like you're just making people sad because no one's going to reach their goals. And it takes years to get comfortable and learn to say no. Doesn't mean like, it's not, I can never eat that. It's like, do you need to eat it every day? And that was sort of, I think, the stubbornness in me. It's like, well, I don't want to be told no, because then I want to do it all the time. And once you just give in and trust the process, like I just had to trust that you knew more than I did. And saying no I started to feel better. So it's like, it took me years to be like, okay, but yeah, you can eat that. And you get that moment of like happy sort of dopamine. And then I don't feel well for the rest of the day. And then I just would do it again the next day thinking it would be different. So it's like, now I truly actually enjoy the food I'm eating, and I don't miss the things I used to think would make me sad if I couldn't have them. Like, I don't need to eat grilled cheese all the time and just be like, weird, why do I feel sick and have heartburn and like miserable after? And you're like, oh, okay. So for me, it took probably 1.5 years, and I tested out intuitively eating. And I think I can do it. I think if I just ate for the whole week and then put it in the app, I probably would hit majority of the proper numbers now because it's habitual.
Yeah.
but I just keep tracking because for me, it's like I like to have that firm hand of like, just don't go back to the girl you used to be, because she wasn't really all that fun. Like I was miserable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And
so
once you start feeling a whole lot better because you're doing the things right, it's like that self accountability of like, I don't want to feel like that again.
I think before we started working, I can honestly say I probably had heartburn 5.5 to 6 days a week, like my whole, like for years. And it started when I was 15. And I think it's just something like my family's genetics deal with on my mom's side. But I would say after 3 months with you, I didn't have it. And I didn't realize how much pain I had been in until the one time I think I was like, I'm eating pizza, like till I barf today. And then I was so sick. I was like, how did I live like this every day?
Yeah.
And so it's like, once that was gone, you're like, oh, that sucked. And why would I want to go back to that?
Yeah. Just a massive difference in like how you're living your life now of like, I don't want to live like that anymore. It feels good at that very moment of like putting the pizza in your mouth, but then like immediately after it's like, here's the heartburn. I don't feel good about my body. I feel shitty the next day. Everything, nothing's good. And then you're like, oh, I should just do this all the time and feel great.
Yeah.
Instead of,
and it shifts your perspective. Like it's sort of like if I eat bad one day, I notice it the next morning at the gym. And that was something I never picked up on, because you just sort of feel crappy every day. That's just sort of your norm. But I would like eat bad and then have a bad sleep. And then I would go to train and I would be like, why can't I lift this weight? This is like lower than I was doing last week. And it's sort of actually really opened my eyes to like what consuming alcohol for no reason used to be like for me. I by no means like had a problem, but I will even just choose not to socially drink now, because I'm like, I know how hard I'm going to pay for that the next day. I'm going to feel tired. I'm going to feel sick. I'm probably going to have anxiety. I'm going to feel a little bit depressed. And why would I do that when I've invested so much time and money into becoming like a better, healthier, happier version? Like, and I don't never drink, but it's like, I maybe have one or two now. And I'm like, yeah.
yeah, the thoughts around it, there's way less excitement and like, oh, I'm going to go booze with my friends. It's kind of like, I guess I'll have one socially, but like, I'm not getting drunk tonight.
No, it generally feels like a lot of work to do it.
Yeah.
Like before, it just was what you did all the time. Yeah. But I think it's like the cliche lifestyle change. Like, I think no one loves that statement. Like, oh, it's a lifestyle, but it is, because it just becomes your focus to just keep feeling better. And it's been nice to like learn that it's like, again, it is consistency, and it doesn't mean you can never do it, but you just are more aware of like what you're paying for when you do it. It's like, I still eat pizza, but I just like know that is not going to be my best sleep. My stomach's going to hurt for a couple days. And I really have to be careful to consume like what I would call my safe realm of food for the next couple days. Cause like the inflammation and the stomach pain doesn't go away in one day. It takes like days for me now, because my body's like, oh no, like this is the stuff that used to make you sick. But I would just eat it probably 2 to 3 times a week, all those foods that are not good for me and didn't make me feel good. So I just never really knew what feeling good was like. So I just lived in this sort of constant state of like, I just don't feel great.
Yeah.
But then I visually started to see it on my body and went, oh, okay, how much longer am I going to do this?
Yeah. Before it's like, okay, do I want to keep going down this road, or do I want to branch off and decide to go down this significantly better road? That I feel like in your 30s is probably like the most important time to make that decision too, because once you get into your 40s, and if you like through your 30s, if you go the one route, like, oh, that's hard to come back to when you hit your 40s. Whereas if through your 30s you make that right decision, it's like, man, your 40s, 50s, and onward looks so much better. And like the 30s is the time to change. 20s, we can all do whatever we want, it feels like. And then you got to make that decision of like, does my health matter to me or not? And what do I want the next?
Mortality starts to you become aware of it. Like my parents are in their 70s now, and like that has felt like the weirdest age for me, because I am like, I'm still 24, so they're 50 something. And my dad was very active, but I've just watched his life change and his muscle mass deteriorate and how little he is actually able to do, which is weird for me because he was the guy, like we skied, we played sports. And I really don't want to be in my 70s and like, okay, well, I guess I'll just like lay on the couch now till like it's over. And you start to realize like how important it is to change your habits and build the muscle and stay strong, because your body does, unfortunately, 35 hits and it just doesn't stay how it used to stay. Your muscles don't stay for as long. Everything starts to sort of deteriorate. So that's also been a good focus, is like what do I want to be like at 55? Like, what do I want to be able to do at 55, 60, and 70? Because it matters now, because I can't fix it then.
Yeah. You gotta be proactive with it. It's super hard to come back from. If you were to either go back to give yourself at when you started some advice, or somebody else who was like kind of in that position and it was thinking about coaching or making big changes to their health, what would you tell them?
I think the two main things are like, you're worth doing it. And that was probably something that held up. Like, it is a financial investment, but at the end of the day, like, we'll spend so much money on other things to make us happy, but why wouldn't I invest in like a long-term health plan? So you're worth it. And also, like, you kind of gotta give up, like give in. Like, I have referred other people to you and they've tried it. And when I chat with them about it, I don't think they wanted it bad enough, because it was kind of like, oh, well, I didn't like that I had to do these things. And you're like, okay, but not doing them is like how you've got here. So it's kind of either it's like you're worth it, but also like maybe check your ego a bit and just trust the process. Like, I think when I started with you, I said to myself, like, subconsciously, I'm going to give it 3 months and I'm going to see how I feel in 3 months. And I'll give him 3 months of just listening. And I think I just have never gone back. Like, I truly think I'm going to get to a point with you. Like, I don't actually need you to do what you do, but I'm going to probably always on some level be like, no, I need to have you in the corner still. Cause I think it's like what makes the program so great is like, you're a person who I genuinely feel like we really know each other. I've like actually never met you in real life. Like, we've never seen each other face to face, but you've become like this intricate part of a journey that I never thought I would like get to this stage of. So do it, but also shut up and do it. Like, invest in it, but like give into it and do the work and be patient, because you're gonna need to be patient.
That's like 100% what I notice with everyone that I've worked with. It's either like you have to put in the work. I wish I could just give people the results that they want, and you see like very quickly who's going to be successful in their programs and who's not. And like, not everyone is, but the people that are, it's because they listen and they do the stuff. And ideally too, they like ask questions and not just strictly like follow what I'm telling them, but they're like, why are we doing this? Well, like, you have to put in the work.
Oh, and I kept like, it's just weird to me when people blame you. It's like, well, like, he didn't feed you a cheeseburger and tell you to skip the gym 3 times this week because you were sad. Like, what? So it's funny to me. And like, I have other friends that do what you do as well. And it's like this constant battle of like, I can't make you get there. I can only give you the tools and like lead you down the road, but I can't run for you or lift for you. And so I think I had just finally gotten to a point where I was so tired of doing it myself and spending hours subconsciously exhausting myself with these like self-hatred comments that I just was like, I'm going to like give you that. I'm going to give you that suitcase and you can carry that baggage for me, but I'll just shut up and do the work. And I think even within the first 3 months, like the changes were huge, and not just physically, like how I felt and was huge. And I haven't really looked back since, but I just think my goal bar sort of never really stays back here. It's always like right behind me. So like, it's nice to have you reminding me where I started. Because as of right now, I'm like, oh God, I'm so weak. I don't even have any muscles. And you're like, do you not remember where you were 2 years ago? And I'm like, no, I don't.
I don't actually. There are like, I know most people hate doing photos, and because I don't typically work with people to like we said at the start, like bikini show or whatever, like contest stuff, the actual physical transformation and the weight loss isn't exactly like the biggest driving force, but it is a piece of it, obviously, right? So I don't make people do them as often as some other people do, but it's so nice when you're like having that week where you're like, nothing's changed. And I'm like, photo one, photo two. And you're like, okay, so maybe it has.
And just the conversation, like showing me my first photo to like where I was maybe even a year and a half ago was like, oh, okay, great. Like, look at all that weight loss. And now it's so funny because I think I sent you my photos from January to my photos now. And I was like, Logan, I've gotten less muscular. Like, what is going on? Like, no, like we need more muscles. And it's so funny to think that now I'm like mad about how skinny I was. I'm like, no, I need to look like I have muscles because I work to do that. And I think the moment I actually realized how sustainable working with you was is I have another girlfriend who did a program with a trainer here. And I asked her about it because her results were crazy. Like she posted before and afters and I was like, what? Like, I don't look like that. And then I texted her about it and she's like, oh, I was like, no, like I'm working on like long-term goals with Logan. He's like teaching me how to like eat properly and like feel my body. She's like, oh yeah, no, that's not what this is. I'm eating like rice cakes and protein bars and like and it was like that bikini body shred. And I was like, right, okay. So you're going to get results fast and likely not keep them. Whereas I had to remember that this was like, we were on a long-term plan together to get me somewhere. And on top of that, I think probably by 6 months, I probably was capable of doing it by myself if my goal was just to sort of stay healthy and eat healthy. And I think that's what I like about your program is you don't gatekeep any of what you teach us. You're sort of trying to teach us so that eventually we probably can not need you. However, my goals have changed and I've decided that keeping you here is worth it for me. So, but I will say for anyone trying to make a change, like you're going to know what you're doing. If you just ask 10 questions in 6 months and pay attention to what you're doing, you don't need to stay. You can then continue on your own because you teach us what we're doing. You don't just give me a meal plan and say like, eat that much yogurt every day and you'll be good.
Eat the yogurt, people.
I think you actually are like, please stop eating yogurt. And
yeah, but I mean, like, I just don't see the point of not educating people. And it just makes it that much easier. Instead of like, oh, I'm doing this because he says, it's like, oh no, there's reason for why we're doing this. And then, yeah, like ideally everyone goes on their merry way. And it's like, that seems like a terrible business model. And it's like, no, that's actually great because then more people come
more
in,
people,
more people instead of just stick with people forever. But like what ends up happening is it's like, cool, you hit those original first goals. Now we got fresh goals.
Yeah.
Let's go chase those ones down.
Yeah. And I like, I think it's just different. Because like I said, I tried a few other options, but you're not bossy in the ways that make you feel like you have no say, but you're like pushy and bossy in all the great ways, like in a nice way, like just go do it, or like you can do it. But like I think when we first talked about my food, you're like, well, how do you feel about like not having dairy? And I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. So I'm either going to lie to you or you're going to know I'm going to consume milk in my coffee every day. Cause like, I will not do a milk alternative. I think they're gross. And I'm occasionally going to eat cheese. And you were just like, okay, like try not to make it your main focus here. And I was like, okay. And I think even just having the freedom for you to hear me out and not to be like, no, you have to drink gross black coffee and never eat cheese again. I would have been like, cool, I'm gonna go. Like, this isn't gonna work because like I live differently and I'm not gonna fit into a box of every other mainstream diet.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so much where it's like, you know, if you need to do that, if you need to have that restriction for whatever reason, probably a gut issue, or maybe you have a dairy intolerance, and it's like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna push you to do that. But like, there's no reason why you can't have that. And there's so much like strict dieting stuff out there, then it's like, why are we saying this? And it's like, we went through a phase where I was more like restrictive and like some of the foods, the vegetables specifically that you like to eat, I was like, you can't have this many. But then once your gut got to a point where it was healed and could handle more, like now generally you can go with whatever. And then every once in a while you're like, my gut's a little off, and we look back and it's like, yeah, because look,
But like, and I'd heard of the food map, like I've heard of that before, but like, why would that ever have made sense to me? I don't know those things. So it's like, why couldn't I eat broccoli and garlic and onions and cabbage, like in two of my main meals in large consumptions and be like, those are healthy? Yes, they are, but altogether they're actually horrible on your stomach. And then I would be like, oh, I don't feel good. And you'd be like, well, yeah, like, look how much broccoli and onion and garlic you ate at dinner. And you're like, oh. And so you kind of learn like health is a spectrum and it's not the same for everybody. And just because something is healthy doesn't mean it's healthy in mass quantities. It's just like, I know I can have, you know, half a cup of broccoli and I'm good. And if I have a full cup of broccoli, not so good.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool to like know those things because I get to control how I feel. And it's like getting somebody, like, it's like you gifted me like this freedom I've never had. Like, I can not reiterate how much food has controlled my life since I can remember. Like, I remember journaling about what I ate in high school and like restricting what I ate because I had had a bad day the day before. And you're like, what? Like, okay. And I was like, I played sports and I would go full days of just like eating an apple because that was just all I deserved that day. And it's like, who taught us this? Like, who?
Yeah, terrible for us to like go through all of that. And I feel like it's so nice to, once you open yourself up to saying like, hey, I have the choice in this. I can eat this stuff. I'm going to feel like shit, but I'm not saying you can't do this or you have to eat this or you have to eat that. It's like, at this point, I'm like, you can eat whatever you want, but this is what's going to happen if you eat this, and this is what's going to happen if you eat that. Now you choose, and if you want to go have pizza and drink beers tonight because it's a special occasion and eat some cake on top of that, like, by all means, go for it, and you get that choice. And then it's like, what choices do you want to make? And like, any of them are fine. It's just up to you what you want to do with it.
I think it's like that it's like a stubborn narrative, like, and we do live in a time where everything's like so different, like everything is being fought against. I feel like where we are, and it is hard. Like, there are some people I talk to that just right off the hop think that how I live now is really unhealthy, and like I have like, oh, you have a food problem. It's like, you have no concept of that. Like, I can actually say this is the first time in my life I have food freedom. But it's like, if it's my, like, for example, it was my dad's birthday and I chose to still consume food that I'm used to for dinner because I knew that there would be an array of desserts after. So it's just like a balance. I'm not going to go eat, like, if I can mitigate how much pain I'm going to be in, why wouldn't I do that? And it's like, I still got to enjoy my family, and I just didn't eat, like, you know, the pizza. I stuck to like salads and chickens and things I really enjoy eating. And then I had a huge piece of cake with my dad on his birthday. But it's I think the narrative of like, just accept yourself and eat whatever you want can also be really damaging, because then you end up being sick and unhealthy. And I was only 30, I guess 30, just 35 when we started. And where would I have been in 10 years or 15 years if I had kept doing that? Like, heartburn's damaging on your throat. Like, it will eat away at body parts. And I have had heartburn every day for almost 4 years. So it's like, long-term effects of that could have been cancer. And so it's like, yeah, yay, freedom, at what cost? It's like, I like that I now feel strong enough to make choices. Like, no, I don't need to eat, you know, like the bacon cheeseburger and the fries and the drinks and the dessert. It's like, I can have the drink and still choose to order something at the restaurant that I know fits within the realm of how I eat. And I still got to go out and be social, but I didn't just like hammer my body and then be like, oh, that's so weird. Why do I feel this way?
Why? This is strange. I won't keep you forever here. Let's sum up the last 2.5 years of coaching in like 10 seconds or like a sentence or two. Hit me with it. Wrap it up.
I didn't know it had been 2.5 years. Like, to me, we just started. We still just started. And I think that's, I think it's exciting. For me, like, I've really learned to love this and be excited about it and learn that I can reach goals and that they don't have to feel like a daunting hill. And I think you've given me a freedom and a calmness that I'm grateful for. And it was 100% worth it. And like I said, I don't see a coming time where I'm not going to force you to make a program that just like allows me to have like 1 month check-ins, just to be like, hey, best friend, like you've been like the most constant thing in my life for 2.5 years. So like it's worth it. And I'm just really excited to see like what 1 year from now looks like. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Always
Yeah.
clear goals to chase down.